All right. Someone explain it to me. Explain why people love this book, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Just finished reading it, and I don't get it. I know someone who's a high school English teacher, and she was talking to me before I read either Tom Sawyer or Huck Finn, and she said that Tom Sawyer was good. She ruined the ending, but Huckleberry Finn is so much better. That's her favorite. It's so good. And I talked to my mother-in-law this weekend, and she said that she had read it multiple times and that she loved it. And I said, oh, what did you love about it? And she goes, I don't remember. It was a really long time ago. I'm struggling to find anything to say about it because the whole time that I was reading it, my thoughts were just kind of like, huh? Okay. I didn't find it interesting at all. The sense of adventure that's in Tom Sawyer, I didn't really feel like it had. This book deals with slavery, which is an interesting element of it. A runaway slave, Jim, and Huckleberry Finn end up floating down the river together, and he's trying to get to freedom. And one thing I did find interesting is because this is back in the day, there was different ideas about slavery, and there was different ideas about religion and what was a sin and what was not a sin. And I did think it was compelling to hear Huckleberry Finn debate back and forth in his mind whether or not it was okay to be helping Jim try to get to freedom. And what he comes up with is that yes, it is a sin to help a slave run away, because technically that is stealing, because he's owned by somebody and he's been taken away from the person who owns him. And so he said, yeah, I guess I am damning myself to hell by helping him escape, but I'm just gonna go to hell then, and I'm just gonna be a lowlife, and that's okay with me. And so it's a kind of interesting mindset, because obviously nowadays, where we believe that slavery was the sin, it's interesting to hear someone feel the reverse but still want to go through with helping someone escape anyways. And then what I thought was really interesting is that he meets up with Tom Sawyer later on. Spoiler, okay. And Jim has been captured, and he is telling Tom about how he is trying to get Jim back again. And immediately, very easily, Tom volunteers to help. And Huckleberry Finn is surprised by that. And he makes a comment to the reader that he thought that someone with such a good upbringing, who went to church their whole life, wouldn't be willing to help free a slave, because they would know that that is sinful. And something that I thought was kind of interesting in the exchange is the fact that it seemed like Tom, who'd had a more stable life, gave sinning no consideration at all, even though he'd been raised going to church and being taught what's right or wrong by that day's standard. And yet Huckleberry Finn, who did not have the same religious education, was so much more contemplative of the state of his soul. But then it kind of got ruined at the end, because it seemed like an interesting commentary that maybe people who have less think more. And yet, at the very end of the book, you find out that Jim actually was already free because his owner had died and left in her will that she wanted him to be free. So whenever Tom agreed really quickly to go and help save him, it actually was just because he thought it would be a fun adventure, and he knew that Jim was already a free man. He just didn't know it yet. And so then it kind of wiped out that whole commentary, which was sort of the only thing in the book that I thought was interesting. So I don't necessarily recommend this book. I just thought The Adventures of Tom Sawyer seemed a little more adventurous and a little less boring, and there was just a lot of odd tangents in this book too, such as the King and the Duke. I didn't like that part at all. They were weird, they were boring. I would recommend this book if you're wanting to specifically study excuse me, if you are specifically interested in studying slavery, because it is an interesting commentary on that in terms of getting to see Jim, and he's trying to escape to slavery, and then he wants to earn as much money as he can so that he can buy his wife and child. Oh my goodness, it's springtime. So, you know, although there's maybe more interesting books that you could read. I haven't read Uncle Tom's Cabin yet, but I would like to. Yeah, so anyways, if you have read this book and you agree with the hype, my goodness, just wait. Please explain to me what you like about this book. And whenever I see my English teacher friend again, I'm going to tell her, why do you like it? Because I wasn't into it at all. Anyways, I hope that you're having a good day. That's all from me.